why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right.
In 2007, Mike Gundy had one of the most famous rants in sports history. The head coach of Oklahoma State gave an intense 3-minute rant with its most famous words,
"Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Now, you have probably seen this clip, or at least heard the phrase 1,000 times. But why did this exactly take place? This story takes a crazy turn, and one that you may not expect, including the player that Mike Gundy stood up for, saying the rant basically ended his life. So before we get started, I gotta thank SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. I know you want cheap tickets, and SeatGeek gathers tickets from all across the web into one area, making buying so much easier. They rate these tickets on a scale from 1 to 100, with the higher the number, the better the deal. Plus, if you still haven't done it yet, use my promo code KTO at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Alright, now let's dive into this video. Mike Gundy, in essence, is the face of Oklahoma State football. We could talk about him dominating for the Cowboys as their starting quarterback in the late 80s. We could talk about how in 2017, Gundy's decision to rock a mullet on the sideline created quite a stir in Oklahoma. The fans dug it, the media loved it, and even the players were crazy about it. Like this one time when Gundy was going to get his hair trimmed, players found out and freaked because they thought he was getting it cut off, and they showed up to the barbershop to confront him. The man is loved in his community for his quirks and antics. But among his many headline-making moments, nothing quite stands out like what happened on September 22nd, 2007. It was Gundy's third season after taking over for Les Miles, who had left for LSU. After dealing with an injury at quarterback and a rough first season, it had somewhat turned around in 2006. Then, after starting 2007 poorly, where his starting quarterback Bobby Reed did not play well, Gundy announced the change to Zach Robinson at quarterback, which was a pretty surprising move after only 2 games. This move left a lot of people in the community scratching their heads, and one local sports columnist by the name of Jenny Carlson wrote a very bold column on Bobby Reed. Her theory was that it had nothing to do with playing badly, but that the kid's attitude got him on the bench. A lot of the ways that she said things were pretty shocking, and it seemed to possess a lot of information from inside sources. Coaches saying the kid was scared, saying that the moment that he found out he had to even compete for the starting job his freshman year, he threatened to transfer. But at the most, these were vague rumors that a columnist wrote as if they were facts. Then check out this line. Does he have the fire in his belly, or does he want to be coddled, babied, perhaps even fed chicken? These were cheap shots, and once someone showed this article to Mike Gundy, he couldn't believe what he read, and it led to this.
I think this is worth reading. Let me tell you why I want to talk about this article. 3/4 of this is inaccurate. It's fiction. And this article embarrasses me to be involved with athletics tremendously. If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday, and you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage, and the editor that let it come out is garbage. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken, and then say that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true. And then to say that we made that decision because Donovan Woods, because he threatened to transfer, that's not true. So get your facts straight.
Coach Gundy talked to us about his rant at the team's weekly press briefing, but is really offering no regrets for his criticisms against an Oklahoman sports columnist.
This rant had gone viral, making its way to every major news outlet and sports show. The local news in Oklahoma caught up with Jenny Carlson, who completely defended her article.
So the column I absolutely stand behind. While columns are opinion, they're also based on fact, and I really believe in the facts of that column.
Everything she said was apparently fact, which doesn't doesn't make that much sense if the coaches talked amongst each other and made a private decision about Bobby Reed. But let's put all that aside. Here's the twist in this story. While there seems to be two sides to this, the forgotten piece here was Bobby Reed himself. You see, when he heard about the rant, he was actually offended by what his coach said. The feeling he felt was one of shock and even betrayal. Bobby was dubbed the next Vince Young in high school, and when you watch him play, he looks a lot like him. The moment that Les Miles came knocking on his door, he accepted the scholarship. He was going to change Oklahoma State football. The problem was, he broke his shoulder his freshman year, and Les Miles had left for LSU. Bobby wanted to leave along with Les Miles, but his new coach Mike Gundy convinced him to stay, quote unquote, "You're the future of the program, son." His redshirt freshman season, he got the nod, but the injury bug once again caught up with him and kept him out of the second half of the season. The following year, it all finally started coming together. After putting up a solid season stat line, which included a 400-yard, 5-touchdown performance versus Kansas, this season led to Bobby being named a Davey O'Brien semifinalist and was named one of 35 quarterbacks on the Manning Award watch list going into the 2007 season. From the outside looking in, this sounds like a pretty good season. But in actuality, the coaching staff had slowly started turning on Bobby Reed. There was a game during that season where Bobby suffered a mild concussion and took himself out of the game, but teammates and coaches began talking. From this ESPN article, quote, "There was sideline chatter that it was a minor nick, that he wasn't showing much grit." While this was happening, backup quarterback Zach Robinson played extremely well in his place, which did convince people and even the coaches that Zach was better suited for this offensive system. Now we arrived at the finale of the 2006 regular season. Oklahoma State, who was just hovering above 500, matched up against in-state rival Oklahoma, who was clearly better than them. But an upset win here would be a perfect way to end this season. Bobby Reed was more than excited. This was his chance to cap off a solid year. Then, that's when he heard about the game plan. He was shocked because Mike Gundy and the offensive coordinator were going to use both quarterbacks on and off. Late in the fourth quarter, both quarterbacks had played about the same amount of snaps. Zach had completed less than 50% of his passes and had not scored a touchdown, while Bobby had produced 2 touchdowns of his own, including a 2-yard touchdown pass with just under 7 minutes remaining to cut it to a 6-point game. Now deep in the fourth, Oklahoma State had stopped the Sooners' offense and got the ball back with just under 2 minutes. They had one last chance for the upset. This is what happened.
Zach Robinson getting the nod here in the no-huddle throwing quarterback. Zach Robinson has done that most of the day today.
Right here, Bobby was asking Gundy to let him go in, and from his account, Gundy didn't say anything in response. Zach lost the game. Bobby was beyond upset, and it was clear on the sideline. Gundy renamed Bobby the starter, but with how the way things ended, Bobby knew it was only a matter of time before the coaches would completely turn on him. He would tweak his ankle midway through Game 2 of the 2007 season, and that was the moment that Gundy had finally made up his mind. They wanted to build around Zach, a guy more fit for the spread offense that they were going for. Instead of being upfront with Bobby, they convinced him that he was going to be the guy, which at times he played like it. But without the full trust of his head coach, it would be hard for anyone to play with that kind of circumstance, knowing that the coach likes another quarterback over you. The night after the Texas Tech game, when Bobby woke up in the hotel room, already pissed off that he wasn't playing, only to hear about the rant. He was caught off guard by what he heard. Bobby Reed now had to sit through an entire season where he would hear fans chant, "I'm a man, I'm 40. As crazy as that whole rant blew up, Bobby Reed pretty much became forgotten. He would throw 14 total passes after that rant. That was it for his time at Oklahoma State. He would end up transferring to Texas Southern for his final year of eligibility, where he played reasonably well until he got injured. He would play a little bit of arena football after college before finally calling it quits. Injuries and coaches turning their back on Bobby hurt his career tremendously, but that's now in the past, and Bobby Reed has completely moved on. He actually joined the Oklahoma State staff at one point in time for a non-coaching position and reunited with his former coach Mike Gundy. Even though he may have mishandled the way he treated Bobby Reed, I definitely don't think that he did it with malicious intent. He even said that he wasn't trying to go viral. He was simply sticking up for his athlete. And this was apparent because the Rant made a huge impact on Oklahoma State football. It put them on the national stage and it influenced recruits. And the Cowboys shortly after became a dominant threat in the college football world.
He's in trouble and throws this one. Deflected, intercepted if he was in the air. He was past the out of bounds line, but he may have been in the air.
Over the out of bounds line, knocks the ball right to his defender. Intentionally done, outstanding play.
Stanford brings pressure. Whedon throws down the middle. And it is caught by Chubb for a touchdown. Oklahoma